Happy Wednesday. It's your Wednesday evening, and I'm here. I am so excited. This is Tiffany S. Burnett Carter. I'm still getting used to it, but this is Tiffany Talks where real conversations are happening, and it is Women's Month. What did I say? It's Women's Month. Yes, it is. It is Women's Month, which means that I am bringing the most phenomenal women to my platform. I am bringing the most phenomenal women with the most phenomenal stories, and not how just being a woman, but how they've overcome. I'm bringing moms, wives, daughters, Women's History Month. And tonight, you will want to share this video. And guess what? Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Real Tiffany Talks. Also, you can listen to this on Anchor, Spotify, Apple. But guess what? Tonight, hold on tight because I know that you will not regret being here because I have a phenomenal author, entrepreneur, business coach who's coming to the platform to tell us her experience of how she just conquered, she triumphed through victory. I saw this young lady, I've been knowing her for a very long time. My mother knew her mother and her grandmother, and just a nice young woman that I think that's doing an amazing job in the community. And she comes from my hometown in Atlanta. I'm in Huntsville right now, but she comes from Atlanta. So, without further ado, I will let her introduce herself, where she's from right now. And this is Chivonne Noel.
Good evening. Good evening. Hi, Tiffany. Thank you so much for having me on
Hi.
your platform.
How
How are
you doing,
you?
Chivonne?
I'm awesome. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Well, first, ma'am, just tell us where you're from. A little bit about yourself.
Yes. Well, again, thank you for sharing your platform with me. It's truly a pleasure. Again, y'all, my name is Chivonne Noel, and I reside in Atlanta, and that's home for me. But I grew up in Bermuda. I lived in Bermuda for 6 years. I'm first generation American, so all of my family's from the islands. And I was born in New Brunswick, New Jersey, but I don't really know anything about up north. I'm a Southern girl by default.
Right. I didn't even know that. I know you were from Bermuda, but I didn't even know you were from New Jersey.
Yes, I was born there. I mean, I
Oh,
literally left there when I was about a year old. So,
okay. Okay. So, you've been doing some amazing things out here. You
oh,
on a radio show in Atlanta. You wrote
yeah.
a book. You have a business. You're helping women. You just on the move. So tell us, how did you really start out doing all that you do? Because I know you a Jill of all trades. So how did you start
Well, I feel like my story is an oxymoron, which is my brand, good grief. So I started my business endeavors and entrepreneurial endeavors when my mother was terminally ill with colon rectal cancer.
out? Mm-hmm.
So she was sick for 8 years, and I knew that I needed to be there with her. I just couldn't imagine going to sit in somebody's office while my mother was
Mm-hmm.
going through hours and hours of chemotherapy, radiation, surgery after surgery, and doing that alone. So my blessing out of that was I went to my employer at the time. I was working at a boutique real estate firm, and I talked to them to see if I could telecommute, maybe reduce my hours to part time, just how we could meet in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
They gave me no happy medium. So I immediately gave my 2 weeks notice. Now, mind you, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I don't have a background in business prior to that in regards to running my own business. I didn't have a degree or any formal education, but I'll say that the Lord truly blessed me. He really did.
Mm-hmm.
I went from making $14 an hour, leaving my job, and I started my business thinking I would just do virtual assistant type work, do some emails, memos, book appointments, things like that for people. And it really took off to where I was staffing people with full administrative support, getting.
Stop right there, Siobhan. So you're telling me, because a lot of people they think that you need someone to qualify you. You
I,
just, who qualified you?
God. That's it.
God.
That's it.
And
Nobody else.
and you didn't have no ties. You just had your own faith. Okay, go on.
Yes. And I started getting government contracts. I helped implement the first community improvement district in Clayton County, right here in my home. I mean, when I tell you it took off, I went to making a six-figure income in less than 6 months. Again, with no college degree, no formal education. No, it was nothing but God. He blessed me for honoring my mother and being there and stepping out on faith, taking that leap of faith. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was truly amazing. And when I tell you the business fell in my lap, I didn't go out marketing and looking for it. People were
Mm-hmm.
calling me. Like my phone was ringing. Hey, Chivonne, I need this. Hey, Chivonne, I need this. I mean, I can't even explain it other than God. I really can't. I can't take credit. I can't.
So one thing that you said very key. You said people started calling you. Now, I'm gonna stay with you, but I'm gonna agree with there. When God qualifies you, you will never have to look for money again. That's
Mm-mm.
And that's why I'm like, as being an entrepreneur, that's why I love to hear other people's stories, because even though we may have different stories, we're talking about the same thing of just having faith. You understand? Like, you understand when you see things drop in your lap, it's nothing else nobody can tell you about any doors. Oh, I'm gonna have to chase this person. No, when God calls you, but it's Him that qualifies the call. So go on.
What's for you is for you. I believe that wholeheartedly. I mean, again, I really don't even feel like I can explain it no other way. But so like I said, I started that business. It did really, really well. Unfortunately, my mom did pass. She passed in 2015 from colon rectal cancer. But I don't say that she was defeated. She fought to the bitter end. I don't feel like she lost her battle. It was at that time, it was her time to rest. God said, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." And it was this time, her time to rest. And she inspired me through everything, through, her being sick, all those surgeries she had. She never complained. She was the epitome of strength and grace and class. And that's where I learned it from firsthand, seeing her firsthand. So I have what I call the grief timeline. 2015, my mother passed away. 2016, a lady ran a red light and almost killed me.
Mm-hmm.
I was pried out of a smoking vehicle. I was taken to the nearest hospital and they couldn't do anything for me. So for those that are from Atlanta, I had to go to what's called our trauma headquarters, Grady Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Um, 3 surgeries later, I have a metal plate in my hip, 2 surgeries on my knee, and it took all of 2017 for me to learn how to walk again with intense physical therapy and just God. When it
Mm-hmm.
happened, they didn't know when I would walk again, to be honest. And I prayed. I laid in a bed with bed sores because I literally couldn't move. And I spoke positively over my life and over myself. I said, I will walk again. And I spoke that every day.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Girl.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I said and watched this because she's about to tell you so much stuff. You're like, how much can a person really go through in life? Even when people look at me, but when I look at others and I see them, they're going through, but they keep conquering. You are a part of the people that I just look at from afar and be like, oh my God, if they can do it again, I can get back up too.
Yes.
Stories that help us to get to the next level. Nobody wants to hear a fairy tale all the time. Yes, we want it to end, but nothing is a fairy tale. It's a story. So you got in this accident. Your mom, which is her name was Beverly Christian, she was an awesome lady. She was an awesome friend and a sister to my mom, and just a beautiful spirit. But what's so beautiful about you that you took care of your mom, and you did, you was right there at a young age helping.
Yeah.
It all, like, your mom, I know she was battling a sickness ever since I pretty much probably been in high school or something. or college, and you were right there. So I already knew, Chivonne, God was gonna bless you significantly. Just didn't know how, but I knew He was gonna come through for you. So then your mom passed. You went through this accident. Now the book didn't come then, right? It wasn't then. So tell us next what happened. What led you up? Keep going.
Well, just when I thought that was enough, it was, or a lot, if you will. As my family and I was like, okay, let's just take a vacation. Let's take a moment to just regroup. So, as I was saying earlier, my family is from Bermuda. And
Mhm.
so my husband had never left the country before, never had been to Bermuda. So I thought that it was time and an ideal place for him to venture for his first international trip. So
Mm.
my husband, my son, who at the time was 10 years old, and my grandmother, who at the time was 89, we went to Bermuda. And the second day there, my husband passed away. So just when you think it was enough, more and more and more. Mind you, my husband of 10 years, the man
Mhm.
that I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with, or, forever with, not just that long. We were so young. So never thought in a million years that I would become a widow. At that time, I was 36 years old.
Right.
Um, so we went on vacation, like I said, day two. And I rode back home to Atlanta with my husband's remains in my lap. And
Mm.
when I tell you that was a lot, I mean, like I
Can
said,
you stop right there? Can you stop right there? I'm gonna pick back. Take your breath for a second. Did you guys just hear? So let me tell you what I saw. I came on Facebook one day, and I just remember you were so happy to go back to Bermuda. And from my understanding, you were doing something for your mother as a tribute, right?
yes. So before
See,
that, I did.
yeah, but I just remember the excitement, and I remember I was telling my friend your story, seeing you all on the beach, having a great day, beautiful. The water was beautiful. You looked so happy. He looked so happy. I did not ever think that night, by that evening, Chivonne, that I was going to read your message. And I was like, you was like, pray for me because my husband just passed. I said, what? That
Mhm.
start on the beach.
Well, it's two stories to that, so it's actually a bit much. So I'm gonna show everybody the cover of my book. So this beach is, when I look at it, it's a lot of different things. I know when other people look at it, they're like, "Oh, it's so pretty. The sand is so pink, and the beach is so pretty and turquoise." So what you were just talking about was actually a trip about 2 years prior to my husband passing. I took my mother's cremations and spread over this beach.
Okay.
2 years later, my husband passed on the same exact beach that I took my mother's cremations to. What's the chances of that? I don't believe in happenstance. And I believe that even when I don't understand, God is in the midst of. And so my husband and my mom were very close, very, very close. And he had what was a lot of health conditions. And I believe that God wasn't going to let him suffer. He had already see my mother suffer. And
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it was like he fell asleep,
Wow.
literally fell asleep in what can argumentatively be one of the prettiest places on earth. It was considered or called what was dry drowning. I had never heard of that before.
Mm.
Um, but for those that may not be familiar, because that was my first time ever hearing of it,
I've
is
heard of it.
and it's usually prevalent in children and not so much
Children.
adults.
I never knew adults.
Hmm.
That's what
Because
I was.
their lung capacity is much smaller. the reason for my husband, that was still, suited for him, is because one of the health conditions, he had a lot of swelling in his feet. That's because of fluid retention. So he already had a substantial amount of fluid on his lungs.
Mm.
So, in addition to that, it was, like I said, a laundry list of health conditions that we experienced at the beginning of our marriage, very, very young. So he also had diabetes. For people that may not be familiar with diabetes, you get a lot of issues with your feet.
Mm-hmm.
One of the
I've
things
heard.
that he had, I'd say probably 2 years into our marriage, he had a toe amputation from the effects of the diabetes. So that day on the beach, walking on the sand and already having a toe amputation, he was already off balance. So
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of water came and pushed him over, and that was too much. It pushed him over, and I can tell it scared him. So when he went under, he did the inhale, and I reached out to assist, and he got back up and walked and talked after that. But when he went under and did that inhale, he took
Mm-hmm.
in additional water. So that water that he inhaled, in addition to the fluid retention that was already on his lungs, was too much. So it was the same effect as traditional drowning, but just not an immediate effect. It still fluid filled his lungs, and his lungs collapsed on that beach.
And so that you come back home, you go on the plane, because a lot of people think that the things that we're talking about, Chivonne, it can't happen to them. You know,
Right.
they act like it can't. Oh, well, that's her story. But you know a lot about my story. You know absolutely it can. And
Yeah.
you're holding your husband ashes in your lap. I just couldn't imagine.
I think I was in a state of shock. Like, even the day of, it took the ambulance almost 45 minutes to get to the beach. So obviously my husband had already passed, but I was still in a mode of hurry, hurry, hurry. Let's get him to the hospital. We still have a chance. We can
Mm-hmm.
save. It was just kind of a sense of denial, you know,
Right.
as they say, the 5 stages of grief.
Right.
So I think I was really in that state of denial and shock for a long time. I couldn't imagine or couldn't believe what I had just experienced. I mean, it was surreal to me. So it's interesting. Another way God shows up and shows out. I'm always one of those people that never buys insurance on things like appliances or, electronics, things of that nature. But
Mm-hmm.
as I was buying those plane tickets to go to Bermuda for my family, I bought the insurance on the plane tickets. That's the best $78 I've ever spent.
Mm-hmm.
That took care of everything as if it was a life insurance policy.
Oh wow.
I always thought that that was for, like, if you lose your luggage, if you need to cancel your
Uh-huh.
flight, reschedule your flight and not have a penalty, things like that. It
Right.
took care of all his hospital bills. It took care of however I wanted to handle his body. If I wanted to bring it back, if I wanted to cremate, whatever it is I chose to do, it took up everything as if it was a life insurance policy.
Wow, that you're teaching me something. And I'm a like, look, I was a life insurance broker, but I was always aware of so many different types of life insurance that
Yeah,
on the plane was like, if you don't want to go, if you want to cancel the trip, just like your understanding. So that's information that you actually just shared with the panel. That insurance is if something happens on the trip and you don't want to think about that something happened on the trip. But I have friends that they've lost family members and they were on vacation. So I know it's real, you know,
yeah,
parents and everything, children. And it's crazy. It's not a lot, but that wow. And so you're right here. You have good grief. What else? Because also you are in your immediate family. You had your mom, your husband, and your grandma. Your grandma, so sweet, the sweetest lady you would ever meet. So I mean, and this is your support system with your son. So
yeah.
explain to people in this amount of time. What has keep her going? Why this young lady?
Well, at this point, I'm ready to go home, but I'm like, I can't leave. I'm in another country. I can't leave without my husband's remains because then I have to depend on someone else to ship them to me or what's going to happen. So I stuck it out, and it was getting down to the wire, literally to the last minute. But again, I don't mean to sound cliche, but God shows up and shows out like he always
Mhm.
does. The funeral home showed up at my Airbnb 2 hours before it was time for me to leave for the airport with my husband's remains because I was going to have to make a decision to get on that flight or not without him,
Right,
and I didn't want to.
right.
Um, and I always tell people to talk about that and have that uncomfortable conversation because I was glad that, I knew that my husband was okay with cremations. I didn't have to do it, against his will or anything like that. But they were
Mhm.
saying that if I brought his body back, they would have had to ship him north and then come back south. And they couldn't preserve him well enough on ice. He wouldn't have looked like himself. So
Right.
I had to make all these decisions, and when I tell you it was a lot, but
Mm.
God, I had a perfect peace over me. God kept me through it all and sustained me through it all. And when I got back, I opened my first storefront in his honor. I did it on my husband's birthday. I dedicated my store to him, Blue Boutique and Studio, a women's boutique. And I've since closed the storefront down, but do it online now.
Mhm.
Um, but again, I just kept moving, and God continued to bless me in the midst of so much trial and tribulation. I knew I had to tell my story. I knew I didn't go through all of that to keep it to myself. So
Mhm.
kept saying, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to tell people about God's grace and his mercy and his goodness and how good he
Mhm.
is.
Yes.
And
Okay.
I just knew that I had to, but procrastination was a monkey on my back. It just kept putting it off. I kept putting it off. Again, God shows up like he always does. So for the first time in my life, I got jury duty,
Mhm.
and I had heard all about it. You could sit here forever and never do anything, and it's a waste of time,
Right.
and all that kind of stuff. So I took my laptop and I said, I'm going to make use of this time in jury duty. I sat in Clayton County Courthouse for a week, never got called on a case, sat in this room with hundreds of people, everybody laughing, talking, etc. I sat in a corner, I had my laptop, and I wrote my book in jury duty. One week,
Mhm.
I wrote my book.
Mm.
Yeah. And I just was focused, 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 focused. Um, then I kind of came to another block because I really didn't know what to do next. Like I said, I
Mhm.
don't have any
Yeah.
formal training and things like that. And so I'm figuring this out, like literally winging it.
Mm.
So
Oh, I understand. Trust me, I understand.
I'm like, okay, I wrote this book. Now what? What do I do
Now
next?
what? Now what am I supposed to do with this? That I felt this. I like, what am I supposed to do? I didn't want to
So,
feel this, God. Go on.
right. This lady on Facebook, I'm in a group on Facebook, and this lady, it was apparently in this group, it was a chain reaction of paying it forward. So people were doing nice things for people, and you do it for somebody else, the whole pay it forward concept.
Mhm.
So she paid it forward to me. Guess what she offered me?
What's she
She
offering?
owns she owns a she owns a media company. Again, I never met her before in my life. She don't know me.
Come on, God.
She was like, "Can I gift you a cover of a book?"
That's pretty big, and that's big.
And I was almost going to tell her no because of a few reasons. For one, I didn't even know what I was going to call it. Two, I hadn't edited and tightened it up and got it to where I was ready to publish. So I said, no, Chivonne, be transparent and tell her where you are in your journey. And so I did because I was like, heck, I'm going to make a cover, but I don't even know what to put on it, the title. You know what I mean?
Right.
So in the midst of my businesses and all these other things, I used to drive Lyft as well at night. Businesses by day, Lyft at night, mommy, all that kind of stuff. And again, I just feel like things don't happen by happenstance. It's a purpose, even though if we don't know. But that
Mm-hmm.
same night after I got off the phone with her, I was driving Lyft and I rode past this plant on the other side of town, like a industrial plant. And it was called Grief. I literally just yelled, "Good grief!" Literally looking at this plant and was like, "That's what I'm gonna call my book."
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, everything just started falling in line, and I wanted to put a subtitle with it because you know I good grief is not an original concept per se. It's been around forever. So I said, "Oh, I can't, I don't want to get in trouble for using somebody else's term per se." So I called my book Good Grief, Viewing Life's Tribulations Through an Optimistic Lens. So I focus on the oxymoron, all the good things that happened in such a dark place, and how, again, the Lord and His grace and His mercy just carried me through. And it's so interesting, even over my life, I always talk about God's grace and His mercy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I probably say it so much that it's just repetitive. And
I
recently,
want you to stop right there. People say, I think sometimes you can't judge anybody, right?
right,
You know what broken looks like, right?
yeah,
No. Like I was just having this conversation with my mom today. I said, I'm humbled to know no matter where I'm at, no matter how imperfect I am, no matter what, that God's grace and mercy is new every day for me. So when I'm
yeah,
hearing these stories about women getting up after they've been crushed, that's a crushing thing. Like that's something that a lot of people, I know, I don't have to be have titles to understand that grief heals. You understand? I've
yeah,
kill people. I've seen it destroy lives. I've seen people have addictions from it. I've seen just people totally go into a person they've never been. Because guess what? Sometimes when I was grieving, I was like, I don't even know, if I was going to make it 24 hours, but I figured out I didn't even know if I was going to make it 12 days, but I didn't made it 12 years. You understand? So when you
absolutely.
Chivonne. See, you on Tiffany Talks. I understand that thing. You understand?
Yes,
Only it's not about who putting you on. If God said do this, because we're gonna sometimes have to go through the fire. You have to
right.
want your rewards without your pain. They want your triumph without your story. You can't have
Mhm.
somebody. You understand? I don't know who I'm talking to. You can't have somebody victories,
Right.
somebody book title. See, I talk affirmations for people, even if they haven't bestseller Chivonne. You can't take a God given gift, but He said I got to sharpen that thing up, and you're gonna have to go through the fire, daughter. But guess what?
Yeah,
Look at you now. Good,
yeah,
good grief.
yeah,
Good grief.
absolutely.
You found that joy that I be talking about. Like when people say, "What is joy in the morning?" See, I didn't know what that was saying, Chivonne, until
Yeah,
I start producing the fruit. And I didn't realize when I was writing, because when I was writing and we both was writing about grief, I was crying as I still have not went back to write my book that I wrote 3 years ago because it's so heartbreaking. But I knew I wanted to tell the story of how you can overcome these things. And back to you, because your story just moving me that I'm just like, honey, boy, I can't wait. I know you going. You already going places, but you already there. You just you got to step and sign the papers, say the congratulations. It's already time stamped. You just walking into your existence. But
thank you.
you've been walking through the fire. But He said you won't get burnt. There you go. Come on. You're not getting.
Yes, you preaching. Go ahead, honey.
I'm just saying this in 2021, even though this is Women's Month, we want to show women. I mean, to each his own or what, but society has depicted women as messy, always arguing. Then the reality shows it's all for me. You understand? Because it's
Mhm.
women like yourself. If you're gonna put women on platforms, put the women that are really the movers to say I've been through, but I'm not gonna sit here and give y'all negative and all the tea and all the stuff. Yes, I
Right.
tell you that I have went through something, but I'm also going to tell you how I overcome. I'm not here to give you a negative, and I'm not here to give you drama. Let the
Right.
folks do that.
Yeah.
We're on our platforms. We here to give something that's permanent, and that's
Yeah.
helping each other. So go on.
And I hope that when people hear my story, when they hear me speak, they know that God is real, because that's all that I can affirm it to. I know that, people may say they have doubts in God or they don't believe, but I hope that I can be a vessel or a vehicle to be a change of heart. Because, like I said, when my mother passed, that was my first walk with grief, and it couldn't
Mm,
it couldn't have been much closer. I feel
mm-hmm.
like a piece of me died that day when my mother passed. Literally. I mean, it took a piece of wind out of me, even though I
Mm.
knew I didn't try to. Nothing prepares you for that kind of loss. And then after that, to have a sudden loss, you know,
Mm.
it's just like, okay, Lord, wait a minute. But again, that grace I keep talking about. And so, interestingly enough, I never knew what my name meant until recently. I looked it up. Y'all, Chivonne mean grace. Can you believe that? And I have been always saying that and affirming that for years, never knowing that my name meant that. So it was already predestined. It was already over my life without me even knowing. So that's that plan, that purpose that God has for us. We have to
Mm-hmm.
be, we can get so caught up in chasing the bag, as they would say, chasing all these other things. Chase your purpose, everything else will follow. I'm a living testament to that. Little old me from Jonesboro, Georgia. Again, I don't have. I went to DeVry, but I didn't finish. I don't have any formal education, and to be a published author, to be a radio personality for 2 years with 2 shows under my belt, to have opened a storefront, to have started amazing business concepts, and I implemented the first community improvement district in my county. I mean, I have a nonprofit organization that I have a partnership with the FBI, Senator Donzella James, and we mitigate against human trafficking. I'm a mentor, a humanitarian, like, and I'm not here to I say this humbly, y'all, so humbly, but
Yeah. But you just telling your story.
I tell you, it's God's grace. I can't take credit for it. I promise you, I don't even try to. I don't go around saying I did, God,
Right.
God. Little on me from Jonesboro, Georgia. Like,
Well, Chivonne, I believe, little becomes much when you placed it in the master's hand.
yeah, amen.
And a lot of times the world will tell you to do different things, because it,
Yeah,
it look good. You understand? You might get quit there quicker. But it's something when you go into partnership with God.
amen.
And
Yeah,
I don't think he asked you, like, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to be spooky religious, because some people are spooky religious. They talk about this God. But I was telling my friend today, you talk about God, but you tell us that we need XYZ to get all these blessings. All we do need is a connection and ask and have faith and he say, before you call, I answer. You stop saying what you don't have a formal education, because he's already qualified that you're educated. See,
yeah,
told us if they told us how to read and what they tell us to read. See, some people are told what to read. See, I get up every morning and all day and I study what I want to study. You
me
understand what
too.
I want
Yeah,
to become? See, they didn't tell you how to study yourself and what you want to do. So you, even though it's untraditional, aren't you doing everything that you want to do? See, some people might have the traditional way, but I can guarantee you that does not equate to happiness. Happiness, free yourself at the bottom in 2021. Freeing yourself is doing exactly what you want to do, but scaling. I didn't say we out here doing, yes, you out here doing outreach. You have a 501c, but obviously the gift that you were born into the world, you just had to go through a little fire to bring it out. That's it.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
it. Like who? I mean, I love a good story, and you have an awesome story of not about triumph, about coming, and then tell us about your grandmother, because I'm not gonna tell that part, and then I'm let them know they can get your handle or where you're at, because you have been a phenomenal guest. Like, your story is amazing. Please follow her. She has a group reading. Please tell them your group. Read.
Yes. Oh, I have two. Reading looks so good on you. So it's a book
Mhm.
club. And then my other one that I just started is my Good Grief group. So my most recent endeavor is Chivonne Noel and Co. And that's a boutique grief support firm that I offer grief support in an unorthodox manner.
Mhm.
Um, like you were sharing earlier, grief leads some people to all different types of things. So
Mhm.
while on one side, I've been able to cope and deal with it. My sister, when she shares her story, she was that person that you described that turned to substance abuse and alcohol abuse and things of that nature. So I took two things and merged them together. I learned her walk through a 12-step program. And then I also learned my walk and how I coped, and I merged them together and birthed
Mm.
Chivonne Noel and Co. So it's faith based, it's support based, it's a sisterhood, all while giving you that unorthodox form of grief support. We do it in a variety of different ways. From a sisterhood, we pray together, we laugh together, we cry together. You have a grief buddy. You have a group of people that know where you've been and can relate. Because sometimes some of your closest friends don't know what to say. They just don't know. And so having that person to relate to can make the world a difference. Then on the flip side, we do events and things like that as a sisterhood, as a group, where we can get a piece of therapy, but also have a good time. So, for example, I have an upcoming event where it's called Mourning. So, the act of mourning, but also in the AM, mimosas and massages.
Okay.
We're going to be at a spa. I have a licensed therapist that's going to attend with us. Um,
Okay.
and she gives an unorthodox form as well. So we sit and we talk, but she also brings different pieces like art therapy, I am affirmations, all this kind of different things as well to just reach everybody because some things are for different people. There's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with the tradition of going to an office and sitting on the couch and having somebody to talk to, but everybody doesn't that doesn't help everybody.
That doesn't help everybody. And
Yes.
I say one of my coping mechanisms, like, I've been meditating for like 7 years, even in certain
Mhm.
meditation. People don't even know that. And it's just like, that's just more of silencing, just letting God talk to you. And
Yeah.
it wonders when you're talking about healing. So I love all those ideas, because I think grief, the best person to tell you how to deal with grief is the person who's what?
Yeah, been right.
You can't, it's hard. You can only give sympathy if you haven't
Yeah,
been, oh, I think, oh, let me say what the paper. No, this is what I'm going to tell you, sis. You
what
need
I experienced.
this, because I've been through this. And it's a different story when you go through it versus you reading about it. When you read
Right.
these, and then it's certain things that you can read about, and you can, like you said, if it's something that I can't help you with, let me put you into the right direction of the
Yeah,
person further, because some people issues do go further, and
right.
everybody can't. But I'm glad that you came. I'm glad that you tell the people how you told them a lot. If you have any, do you have your IG? Tell them how
Yeah.
to follow you and everything.
So you can follow me under Chivonne Noel for my personal page and or Chivonne Noel and Co for my the latest endeavor, or under my media brand for where I do radio, media hosting, and all that is Vonnie in the City. All platforms, Instagram, Facebook, social media, all my social media platforms.
Right. So I enjoyed this conversation. You must be seeing me more talking to Chivonne. I love to talk to women like Chivonne, because they
Mhm.
understand that no day is promised. Like, look, we can be right here, but but you believe in God. You believe in God.
Absolutely,
And,
yes,
and-
I
and you
do.
just have a beautiful heart. Your family they had a beautiful reputation. And I'm just so glad. I'm just so glad to see that you came out on the other side. Everybody don't come out on the other side, Chivonne.
Right. I'm blessed. I'm grateful. Again, it's God. It's God that has carried me through every step of the way.
Right. So I am so grateful that you came upon my platform. You will see her again. And we will, and definitely she'll help me talk about this grief again. That's why I brought her, because I'm like, y'all take her, come and bring somebody else that brought a grief book to the scene, because little did I know when, because your grief book came out last year, right before the pandemic, right?
Yes,
You didn't even know you was gonna go through the pandemic, and I was delayed. I was like, wow, this is so crazy. All the grief that has happened in the world, in the United States, in the world itself, the country, everybody, people home. So this is so God is a God that orders our steps, even if
yes, he does. He sure
he
does.
orders our steps. But you had to be a participant in your deliverance. Chivonne had to be a participant in her healing. I'm going to say that again, because a lot of people want the healing. They want the victory, but they don't want to participate. They want it just to land, but you had to get up and do something and make the first step. And it looks like God made all the other steps, and he looks like he has your steps ordered. So we're so proud of you here at Tiffany Talks. I'm proud of you as a woman. I see you. I honor women. I honor queens. You understand? You doing the queen thing and you helping other people. That's all right with me. You all right with me. So
Thank you.
thank you for blessing my platform. Do you have anything else to say to the people?
Well, no, again, thank you for having me. Thank you to everyone for listening. I know that you could have been doing a billion other things, so thank you for taking the time to hear my story. I appreciate you for that alone. So thank you again.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Chivonne. Nice having you.
You too.
Again. Y'all will see her again, okay? Stories. All right, Chivonne, thank you and happy Women's Month, okay?
Good night, y'all. Thanks.
Guys, it's been another session of Tiffany Talks. You want to be back next Monday. Every Monday, every Wednesday, we're going to be here. 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Next week, the next few weeks. Next week, we have Demi Powell coming to the stage from Huntsville, Alabama. And sis has a whole brand, cosmetic brand, been on BET and everywhere. So she's going to share some of her secrets of what it looks like being a wife, a mom, and everything. Then we have someone who's made Black history, a woman who's made Black history. At the end of the month, you don't want to miss her. I have a real estate agent coming on telling us, ladies and men, how to buy houses and get ready. We have a lot of stuff coming in 2021, but you have to be real with yourself to have a real conversation. If you want a real conversation, if you want to be a part of one, come and be a part of one at Tiffany Talks, because free yourself all 2021. This is where real conversations happen. Good evening. Be blessed. And guess what Chivonne said? Don't just grief, but sometimes it's good grief. This has been your girl, Tiffany S. Burnett. Well, from Tiffany Talks. Thank you. And guess what? Don't forget to share that video with someone who needs to hear this. Sharing is caring. Also, like my Anchor page, like my subscribe to my YouTube. I enjoy the support. Thank you so much for joining me this evening at Tiffany Talks. Bye. See you next Monday.